After looking at the different types of governments that exist around the world, there then becomes the question of why government? Why do governments exist? Why do people agree to be under the control of one, two, or even a group of people? The reason for governments have been debated throughout history, but one guy by the name of Thomas Hobbes put it pretty well. So Thomas Hobbes was a philosopher, and he believed that all men were naturally evil, meaning that they are chaotic, they will naturally do evil things, and they will just make overall bad decisions for themselves, and they will only be focused on themselves. And so because of this, if men are left without any control or social order, society will then just become chaos. So because of Thomas Hobbes' theory, he believed that government is used as a way to create and maintain social order. Because without a government, then there will just be chaos, or as you guys learned about, anarchy, where everybody can do whatever it is that they want. But sometimes, as we know from historical events as well as current events, government does not always support social order, meaning that they do not always look after the best interest of their people and maybe only the best interest of themselves. And because sometimes the governments do not support social order, there was then this movement in the 17 and 1800s known as the Enlightenment, where other philosophers like Thomas Hobbes all got together and began to think of new ideas about what the government should and should not do. So now we're going to go through a couple of the different Enlightenment philosophers and their ideas that they had when it came to government. Keep in mind, too, that not all of these theories support all different types of government, but it's still a good idea to discuss the role that government should play in people's life. So the first philosopher went by the name of John Locke, and he believed that the government must protect people's rights. And so, for example, a king must help protect and support the people with their natural rights, including life, liberty, and, well, he said property, and the United States changed it to the pursuit of happiness. The interesting thing about Locke, though, he went further than just saying that government must protect people's rights, in that if the people's rights are not protected, then the people can revolt and overthrow that leader. Now, for us, revolts and overthrowing government isn't exactly a new and crazy idea, but back then it was not considered a popular idea to just overthrow a ruler, because most of the time they were a monarch and the people believed that they were put there by God. So John Locke believed that people had certain natural rights and that it was the government's job to protect them. Then there was a guy named Voltaire, and he believed that people have the right to religious freedom, and that if people are able to worship whatever religion they want, then the government will become more productive. So as a result, it was the government's job to ensure that people could practice whatever religion they wanted. Another philosopher was Adam Smith, and he's actually an economic philosopher, but he believed that in order to have the best economy possible, that people need to have the right to make economic decisions. That if the people do not make the decisions in the economy, like what to buy or what to sell or what businesses to support or what businesses to create, then the economy will cease to function properly. So he believed that people should have complete economic freedom to do whatever they want, and that the government should not step in and tell you what type of phone you should have, where you should live, that sort of thing. And the last philosopher for the Enlightenment that we're going to talk about is a lady named Wollstonecraft. And she believed that people of both genders should be equal. So basically that men should have no more power than women and vice versa. And she believed that gender equality would be achieved through education. And if you notice, throughout all four of these Enlightenment philosophers, there are some common themes. Most of all of them were talking about people. What rights people have, what people should be able to do, and the ways that government can support them. And also they talked about, as I already kind of mentioned, people's rights. Okay? that people have certain rights and that it is the government's jobs to protect these rights, and like John Locke said, if these rights are not protected, then you can revolt and overthrow that government. So following the Enlightenment, which was a period where a lot of new ideas came up about people's role with government and what the government should and should not be able to do, people then began to fight to ensure that their rights, like so many of the philosophers talked about, were actually protected by the government. And this is why we now see so many different types of governments around the world and so many different styles of ruling, because there are so many different ways to try to ensure that people are given the rights that they deserve, whether it's religious freedom, economic freedom, or gender equality.